Hi, this is Murder and Trial. We are
Sophia.
Alexa.
and Alan, and today we'll be talking about the murder of the Clutter family, and we're going to debate whether the killers deserve the death penalty. After doing some research, we find out what really happened during the event of the murder. To start with, we are going to talk about the Clutter family. Um, Herbert Clutter, a 48-year-old man, was the man of the house. Was a self-made man, and he was an active church leader. And he was also a strict but understanding father. Bonnie, 45, wife of Herbert, suffered from severe depression, which was caused by the birth of her children. Nancy Clutter, 16 years old, was known for her kindness and popular in school. Kenyon, the youngest child of Herbert and Clutter, was a quiet teenager compared to his sister, Nancy. The next thing we are going to talk about are the killers of the Clutter family and how this case started. Okay, so the name of the first killer was Richard Hickok, also known as Dick, was 31 when he murdered the Clutter family. Um, Richard can be depicted as a person who displayed psychopathic tendencies. Some of these tendencies were lack of empathy, lack of remorse, manipulating people, impulsive, and aggressive. The other killer's name is Perry Smith, who, unlike Richard, Perry showed many sociopathic qualities, such as his profound lack of empathy and remorse for his behavior. Perry was known for having anger issues and is known for being manipulative, and was also known for having family trauma. Okay, now that we know the victims and the killers, we will talk about what happened to the Clutter family before the murder and why Dick and Perry decided to enter the Clutter home and kill them. Okay, to begin with, before um, their death, Mr. Clutter bought a life insurance plan in order to leave his family with money in case of accidental death. Bobby Rupp, oh no, Nancy Clutter spent time with her boyfriend Bobby Rupp, being the last person believed to see the Clutter family alive. Although we couldn't find any research on what Bonnie and Kenyon were doing before their murder, we can infer that Bonnie would have liked to be self isolated due to her mental illnesses, and Kenyon would like to be alone too. Before murdering the Clutter family, Rich, Richard and Perry um, were locked up. Were locked up in the Kansas State Penitentiary, where an inmate.
This inmate was known as Floyd Wells, a past worker of the Clutter family. Wells told Richard that Herb Clutter was a wealthy farmer and had a safe with at $10,000. After being released from jail, Richard and Perry teamed up in order to go forward with the robbery. On November 14, 1959, Richard and Smith drove to Holcomb, Kansas, where the Clutter family lived. After arriving to the Clutter's house, Richard and Perry entered the house through an unlocked door. As the family was sleeping, Richard and Perry searched the house to find the safe. After they failed to find it, they woke the Clutter family in order for the family to lead them to their valuables. Frustrated and unwilling to leave the witnesses, Richard and Perry murdered the entire family. They led Harvard to the basement, where they tied his hands and gagged his mouth shut. They slashed his throat before they shot him in the head. Kenyon was in the basement couch, tied up and gagged. with a single with a single shot in his head. Bonnie was in her upstairs room where she was tied up, gagged and killed by a gunshot to her head. Nancy was also found in her bedroom. She was tied up but not gagged. She was killed by a gunshot to her head. After killing the family, the only valuables Perry and Richard found was a bit of cash, binoculars, and a portable radio. After fleeing Kansas, Wells heard about the crime while in prison. He contacted the authorities and told what he knew, such as the names of the killers. Richard and Perry were found and arrested in Las Vegas FBI, by KVI agents. Once in custody, they were interrogated separately. When Richard was confronted with the evidence of his footprint being on the crime scene, he confessed to being part of the robbery, but blamed Perry for the killings. Perry was hesitant to confess, but once he found out Richard put the blame on him, he confessed and gave details of the crime.
A few months after the murder of the Clutter family, the trial of Perry and Richard was held, where both men argued not guilty and pleaded the insanity defense. After pleading the insanity defense, the court brought in a psychiatrist in order to examine Richard's and Perry's mental illnesses. The psychiatrist found that Perry had trauma-related impulsivity, meaning his painful and traumatic upbringing left him unable to control his anger and violent outbursts. Although Perry showed clear signs of severe mental illness, these signs could not be used as evidence due to Kansas law. The doctor then found that Richard had a manipulated charm that he used in order to use Smith to commit the killings. Richard suffered a head injury due to a car accident. Although Richard was intelligent, he was reckless, which led him to continue his criminal behavior. He lacked empathy, meaning he could commit crimes without feeling regret. The signs of mental illnesses could not be used as evidence, as both defendants' mental illnesses didn't stop them from knowing what is right and wrong. Due to this, both defendants were sentenced to death and were executed. Now for the main debate, whether Richard and Perry deserved the death penalty. Okay, I believe that Richard and Perry deserved the death penalty due to the crime they committed being brutal. Although their main plan was to steal money, it led to the murder of a family. Both killers showed cold-blooded nature, brutality, so they should face the crimes they committed and get death penalties. I also believe that they did deserve it because the Clutter family was an innocent small family that lived in a neighborhood, a safe neighborhood where they didn't lock doors. So because of the Richard and Perry, they caused the neighbors to not trust each other and to be scared of each other because they didn't know who the murderer was. So because of that, they started locking doors and be scared to live there because they still didn't know who it was. But back to the Clutter family, they were an innocent family who was well respected. Well, the dad was well respected because he was just a regular farmer.
He was a wealthy farmer.
Oh yeah, he was a wealthy farmer. And what was well respected, and the kids. Nancy, she was a good student, and then the other one, what's the name? Kenyon, yeah, he was quiet, but also a good student. He wasn't very outgoing like Nancy, but they both had good lives to the future to look at. And then the mom, she had a little bit of depression.
Not a little bit, she had a lot.
Well, she had some depression, and yeah, I'm pretty sure that kind of messed up, like, her head and, like, the family a little bit. But it's okay. But rest in peace to the Clutter family because they really did not deserve it. Okay, that's my part.
Alright, I kind of disagree with the death penalty. I mean, Balesa is right because, I kind of feel bad for the Clutter family. They were innocent and they didn't do anything to deserve something like that. But like I said, I disagree with the death penalty because the death penalty frees the criminal from the consequences they get. By this I mean the death penalty gives them a fast death. They were executed, so it was just a chop to the head and dead right away. They didn't have to face any consequences other than death. And I feel like that's too easy. I feel like it would be better for them to get a life sentence and serve their time until they die there. because it gives them time to think about what they did and to think about the consequences. So I think if Richard and Perry would have gotten the life sentence, they would have served until their death, giving them time to think about their crimes and suffer alone until their death. This can be a better punishment as they won't ever have freedom again until they die of old age in prison. So yeah, like I said, I think I disagree with the death penalty. I feel like the life sentence would be better because they get to suffer alone.
I will, well, I see your viewpoint in this. I would like to disagree with you and go back to Valesia's previous points with it because being a death penalty not only like ensures like the protection of the community just in case with how we've seen how the justice system isn't always the most doesn't always deliver on justice. The penalty may be seen as the only form of justice for the Clutter family and may provide by this it means that justice or revenge for the victims and their family. The death penalty will be a fitting punishment for the crimes they committed and will provide closure to those that were close to the Clutter family.
All right, well, this is the end of Murder and Trial. This was the first episode, and I hope it went well.